From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. I had the honor of guesting on Drive Time from River West on River West Radio, their afternoon program, with Martin Hallinger. That happened on Tuesday. So I thought I'd play that for you right now. And then the next time we get together will be tomorrow for the relaunch of Charles Purcell Presents, and then on Monday for the Season 4 premiere of The Log. All right, here's me and Martin.
All right, you're listening to Drive Time from River West. My name is Easy.
Hello, Easy.
Easy M. That's who I am. Actually, it's funny. I do have a few aliases. Well, my name is Martin, and this is Drive Time from River West. Yeah, and my aliases
name is Martin, and I'm here to say
that sometimes I go by some other names. And one of them is if I'm ever ordering food and they ask for a name, I don't want to say Martin because I don't want to hear my name yelled out. I don't want to go, oh, that's my food. No, I said Mark. I don't want to like.
Oh, you give another name?
I just give my one of my big aliases is my old cat's name, Buzz Bombus, and it's nice because when my food is ready and they say Buzz, it catches my ear right away because it sounds like somebody's calling for my cat.
Cool.
And then I sometimes go by the Great Martismo.
All right.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is because our guest today is Charles Purcell. So first of all, Charles Purcell, welcome.
Thank you.
To Drive Time. And Charles Purcell currently is doing a show called The Log, which you can hear 8:30 a.m., 1 p.m., 9 p.m. You can go to riverwestradio.com, click that shows, or you can go on just about any podcast format and find Charles Purcell.
Except Spotify.
Oh, very good.
I took myself off Spotify.
Did you really?
I did.
Fascinating. Yeah. Good to hear. Just fascinating to hear, really, because like the conversation that we have about that. Well, anyway, the reason I mention it is because Peter Donalds literally stood up from his chair and moved to another chair and sat down as Charles Purcell. So just to clear that up real quick, is Peter Donalds is Charles Purcell. Unless you're trying to get money from Peter, then Charles Purcell is a totally different person.
Comes in handy.
It's like, nope, Charles isn't here. I have no idea why he would spend that much money. All right, so you have something that you would like to announce, Charles. What is it?
Well, I'm kind of excited because on Friday, February 4th, we are relaunching Charles Purcell Presents, which is another show, another podcast.
Very exciting to hear that.
Yeah.
Because I love Charles Purcell Presents, and I'm guessing that it takes a different form because last time River West Radio was playing Charles Purcell Presents, it was 11 a.m. on Saturdays, and it was a cast of characters that were, it seems like often the cast would be 6 different voices would be on.
Yeah.
And it was fun little, I've just realized I'm getting confused. Stream of Consciousness Talk Radio Theater.
That's another show.
Is a different show altogether.
I've done several different podcasts over the years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Charles Purcell Presents is a mix of sort of, we never quite came up with a good term for it. Sound art, audio collage, sound sculpture, whatever you want to call it. It's just playing with sound, whether it's in the media, television, radio, music, or live sound from, nature sounds or something. So there's that sort of audio sculpture component. There's also radio theater, and there's improvised, and most of that is scripted, but then there's also improvised radio theater and monologues. It's just basically a lot of fun, and it's kind of odd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice because I first really got into radio when I was little, and it was because of the stations that would play radio dramas that were, it's funny, that were 20 years old.
Oh my God!
And now they're 70 years
I
old.
fell in love with Lux Radio Theater from the
my gosh.
1930s.
Yeah, Lux is great because they do full movie narratives.
Yeah, it's great.
And using often the actors that played in the movie.
Right.
And then it would be great, like some of them, well, Humphrey Bogart wasn't available, so we got some other big name
But they
actor.
had big stars. They had Al Jolson doing the jazz singer. They had the original cast of You Can't Take It With You and things like that.
Which I actually,
Lux Radio Theater.
Yeah, I played Christmas Carol from Lux over Christmas time.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so it's really nice because it's not an easy thing to do. There's been more than one River West radio producer that said, I think I might do some radio dramas. Like, cool, do it.
Yeah,
And they don't do it because it's
really difficult. I mean, it's time consuming. You really have to be committed to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so time consuming. You really have to be committed to it. It's going to be a change in your life because you're not just covering the news and other social commentary. You're going to mix in on Fridays starting February 4th.
Right.
Should I say radio dramas, experimental radio dramas?
Sure. It's like I said, it's a mix.
And it's going to be whatever the heck you feel like doing that
Right.
week.
And
ultimately.
because it is so time consuming, much of it is improvised. And that's just for practical reasons as well as creative reasons. You know, you can't do a half an hour of scripted radio drama every week. It's impossible for one person to do that.
Right.
So I'll do a scripted piece as I'm able. But much of it is I toss in a lot of improvised stuff that doesn't take too long. It's throwing stuff against the wall and to see what sticks. And I got to say too that this is really where I come from. The whole social and commentary thing and politics, that came later. My first life was doing the radio art stuff.
Oh, you did that first.
I absolutely did it first.
What year did you start doing radio art?
When I was like in 10th grade or 9th grade in high school.
Okay, very funny.
My friends and I did these radio dramas of this kind of film noir detective, and they were filthy, but only in the way a 10th grader could make something. You know the term sophomoric?
Yes.
Well, that's where it comes from.
Yes.
And I've been doing it pretty much ever since. When I got into college, then I really got into it. And I was at the InterArts Center at San Francisco State University. And I had all these really wonderful creative people around me. And my thing, that was kind of my thing, was radio and audio. I designed my major around that.
All right, I'm picturing the equipment because when you talk about being in high
my
school,
gosh.
it was that one tape recorder that
Yeah.
the only tape recorder you could get at the time.
Right.
I'm not going to describe it because everyone that can picture it knows what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And then in college, you were cutting 1/4-inch tape with a
Exactly.
razor blade diagonally and using little 1/4-inch tape.
Exactly right.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so glad I wasn't born earlier, but I wish I was born later because like all the physical stuff was just like, oops, I cut off the
Yeah.
wrong word. Now I have to tape that back.
It was
God.
great. It was great. And plus I had no money, so I was jerry-rigging stuff all the time. Some of the first things I made were just really Rube Goldberged into existence.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's funny how there's a certain technology dictates creativity to some degree.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I mean, because like my experimental audio was when I was like 8, and my dad let me use the tape recorder, which was a big deal. And I was doing stuff like, oh, I'm going to record the vacuum and then turning off. It was like, this is pretty exciting. I'm controlling the audio world. Anyway,
My first tape, that reminds me, my first tape recorder was a little mini reel-to-reel. And I got it for Christmas.
Precious.
I got it for Christmas, but I don't know how the circumstances exactly. I knew I was getting it. I think I talked my mother into getting it early because then I rewrapped it, but I fixed it in a way that I put the mic through this little hole in the box and I could hit record. So I recorded everybody surreptitiously doing Christmas morning through my present.
I swear.
That's how excited I was.
Oh gosh, I'm guessing that Candid Camera had a little bit of history in your development.
Oh,
so
no, I was too cool for that.
I love secretly recording. My aunt got very angry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Aunt Alice.
But I interrupted myself.
So college, you were doing
in college.
experimental.
I had a character called Mr. Sunshine, who would do social commentary, and he was known as the caustic yet affable Mr. Sunshine.
Can you give us a taste of Mr. Sunshine?
Oh, he just had kind of a thing like this, and he'd talk about whatever was in the news, and he'd do social commentary.
Oh,
and these
gosh.
people just need to really get over themselves. And so that was Mr. Sunshine, and that's when I really started doing social commentary. And as the years passed, that would sort of sneak its way into the sound art programs I was producing.
You were doing social commentary as a character,
Yes.
not yourself,
Yes.
right? Which gives you more leeway.
It gets very meta because Peter Donalds is doing Mr. Sunshine, who then kind of morphs into Charles Purcell. So, yeah. I'm still, in a way, doing a character. But I should make it clear that Charles Purcell is absolutely real in every way. I mean, I don't say anything that I don't believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, interesting. Right, because Martin Hallinger is not totally real. I sometimes say things.
Oh, really?
Actually, no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
But whatever
yeah.
social comment I'm giving is absolutely sincere.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and you are against saying something in a way that can be misconstrued. Irony can be misconstrued.
Oh, I'm very careful about that, and I scold you all the time.
You scold me all the time, and I take it to heart, which is why I should say no. Anyway, so then in college, what happened? You ended up in the professional radio world at some point.
I had to make a living, so I wound up in doing real radio, which was made my heart kind of sick.
And what sort of format station were you first at?
Commercial radio,
music?
a morning zoo kind of thing. Terry McGovern was the host. I was the on-air producer and sidekick. Part of my job description was to laugh at Terry's jokes. Because as the program manager told me very explicitly, you got to laugh.
Good one!
You got to laugh so the audience knows he's funny.
That drives me nuts.
So that really kind of stole my soul. I dreaded going to that job, but I learned a lot.
Right, and you didn't get to do anything experimental other than can you make a better hooga?
I just got really good at the production end. Lots of quick edits, and so I got making promos every day. So I got good at
some
it.
satisfaction though at least doing the thing where
Oh,
you're
for sure.
helping sell butter.
I was very kind of proud of myself, and my first big job in radio. I mean, this was KYA San Francisco. This was big time.
Right.
This was powerhouse kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
but then I went right from there to KPFA.
Before we go
Berkeley.
to KPFA in Berkeley,
Yeah.
let me just say that your promos, that you learned promos there, served River West Radio well because all of the 30-second spots you hear are amazing in ways that you don't understand, listener. Because I know, like, hey, let's find a clip, a golden moment for somebody's show that works by itself in under 30 seconds is a time-consuming task. So thank you for doing that. Holy cow. And it's funny because, like, one of the tricks is, like, before the break, we heard one for the 6:30 show tonight of Stone Soup, and you got a nice little bit from Daisy that I've heard dozens of times, and I haven't tired of it.
Good.
That's a real trick.
Yeah.
Because you can make something that sounds great and gets a laugh, and then the second time it gets a cringe.
Right.
And like Bing Bong Crunch is another one where you captured the show, Bing Bong Crunch. I won't say the time because I think they're moving their time slot again. But it works every time. So anyway, so then you went from San Francisco to Berkeley. I'm sorry, no, to... where?
Yeah. KPFA in Berkeley, my partner Frank Skillman and I, we had met during my college days. He actually wasn't going to San Francisco State University, but he was part of the crowd I met through mutual friends. And we had kind of a performance group. And just what you think about a San Francisco performance group, kind of improv performance, performance art, for lack of a better word. And we were all kind of figuring out what we wanted to do. We had several gigs, and as groups like that tend to do, they whittled away until there were only two of us left. Frank and I looked at each other and said, "Let's try radio." So we did some micro broadcasting for a while.
Oh, what year is this that one did micro broadcasting?
Well, we invented the term. I don't know if anybody else. You know how different people around the globe invent the same thing at the same time. So I'm assuming other people did this too. But this was 1990, maybe late 80s, early 90s. I forget exactly. Micro broadcasting was kind of like a radio show, but only for like 3 people on a conference call. It was micro broadcasting. But we treated it just like a real radio show, and we treated it very seriously. That was the whole thing.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
this was more of a learning exercise than let's entertain the masses.
Well, our approach was, and we were very explicit about this with each other. We talked about it. We said, let's just do our work as though 1 million people are going to hear it. Not to please 1 million people, but as though 1 million people will hear it, whether they like it, hate it. So that's how we did it. And we started doing a show called Neo Radio for literally no one. We just did it.
And I've heard some of those Neo radios because you've played them on the Log or Charles Purcell Presents, actually.
Yeah, and they're also at the website, charlespurcell.com. I recommend all the old podcasts are there. But that's how we did it. We just said, let's just do the work. We considered ourselves, not to sound pretentious, as artists. I went to art school, and so did Frank. He was a photographer and a writer, and so we're creating art, and we took ourselves seriously. So let's create art. Radio, like I said before, no term is. No, we've never settled on a term. Sound art, audio sculpture, radio theater. So that's what we did. And after several episodes, we shopped it around a little bit and wound up on KPFA in Berkeley.
How long did you have to shop around your art show?
6 months, maybe.
Yeah, that's a hard 6 months because you got told no plenty of times by, wait, how many stations could you even bring it to? Like
Well,
8?
that was the thing. We were self-censored. We knew that no commercial station would be interested. So it was public stations, festivals, things like that. We were played, some radio festival in New York played us. So we got some individual plays at different spots. But then we settled into a weekly schedule at
And what was your
KPFA.
time slot?
Time slot?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Was it a morning show, drive show,
It was a
nighttime?
weekend evening,
That's what I like. I love weekend evenings.
like a Saturday, a Sunday at
Nice.
9 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah, and how long did you and
We were
Frank-
right there with Joe Frank and in that.
Joe Frank,
Yeah.
if you haven't heard of Joe Frank, well, good luck finding it.
Oh no, joefrank.com. Just he's,
they're up now.
oh yeah, oh he's easy to
Okay.
find. Just YouTube it.
Oh, right. Hearing the shows, but
Yeah.
it used to be hard. But anyway, so you and Frank were broadcasting Neo Radio for how long in California?
How long did that go? Maybe 3 years of original shows, and then we on repeat for another couple.
And how is Frank doing these days?
Oh, he's the greatest guy in the
he-
world. I love Frank.
Still doing art?
Yeah, he's an artist, a photographer, and
Nice.
he and I communicate almost every day.
So here we are with Charles Purcell in the mid-90s in California, and somehow there's a dotted line that's invisible string that's going to lead him to River West. What's next on that string from California? Because you didn't get to do Neo Radio for the rest of your life, which I assume would have
No,
been the dream.
I had to make a living. I had to, I had kids. I had to
Stupid kids.
stupid
up everything.
stupid money. So that's when I got into. I worked at Sirius XM for a while. I worked at Wisconsin Public Radio when I moved back here for a few years, and there again, I enjoyed it. I was producing talk radio, so I was literally talking to the smartest people in the world every day. It was very satisfying. You find a great book that really, if you feel like it's important, and you find the author and you talk to him. What could be more fun than that? So that was good, and I again learned a lot, and I hosted. I was the primary sub whenever the hosts were gone. So I produced, and then I hosted several weeks out of the year, and it was good. My main problem with it was, public radio is never going to challenge the system.
Oh, wait a second. Wait. I'm a big a public radio supporter. Well,
I am
meaning
too.
that I listen to it. So what is it that they don't challenge?
They don't challenge capitalism.
Yeah, and that is a sad truth about public radio and public television, because they do actually have money coming in and they would like to keep that going because of their jobs. And you can say and you can act like that doesn't affect you. And perhaps it doesn't affect the end product
Yeah.
too much.
Relative to commercial media, it's 1,000 times better. But you can never quite cross that line. You can't seriously talk about social anarchism.
Right.
You just can't.
No. And it's weird how like just saying that feels like, well, of course not. Of course not. Not in this capitalist society. Of course not.
Right.
And that's because they haven't challenged it.
Right. There are basic assumptions in all media, except for River West Radio and a handful of community stations, and I include KPFA and Pacifica Radio in that.
KCRW I'll throw in there too, because actually I don't even know what original shows they're doing these days, but...
Yeah, no, they're good, but they're still... They don't... See, Pacifica is the gold standard for me. KPFA, they've got... I don't know how many stations, affiliates they have around. WORT in Madison.
Right.
And,
That's funny. I always forget about that. They're Pacifica.
Yeah. And then there's one in Houston and New York. I forget where they are. But other than that, you have to go deep into the internet to find actual challenges.
And this is one of the things that's interesting, because like people will say, well, why even bother being on 104.1 FM in Milwaukee? Why bother? Just do it streaming, because that's mainly what people are doing. Which is true. It's here's the thing: is yes, you can go into stream to the world, but the difference is
being actually on air, terrestrial
radio. You have dozens of choices in Milwaukee of what you could be listening to on FM. On the internet, you have the equivalent to an infinite number of choices to be listening to, and so how you get into that turns into who is it that steers you to those different programs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see here. I just realized we're running low on time. And we kind of just jumped from Wisconsin Sirius XM and Wisconsin Public Radio to the next step is River West Radio.
After I left radio, I got laid off from Sirius XM during the 2008-9 crash, and I just never went back to radio. I tried for a little while. And I kind of lost out on a few jobs. All jobs went to younger people who would work for less money and be less of a pain in the ass than I would have been. And they could tell that from the interview. This guy's going to be a pain in the ass. He's too old. He wants too much money. He's got too much experience. Plus, he's a pain in the ass. So I just gave up. And I decided, long story short, I'd always thought that someday when I retired, I'd go to music full time. And now we're talking about Peter Donalds. Peter Donalds is the musician
who doesn't want to be confused with the radical,
which is
thinking Charles Burcell.
It's one of the main reasons the persona of Charles Burcell happened, because Peter Donalds was already established as a musician. I was going out getting gigs, and I didn't want people Googling Peter Donalds and then seeing all this political stuff and just getting confused. I just wanted to hire a guitarist and singer.
Right, not some radical coming in here saying, don't even spend money at locations like this.
So I wanted to separate these two things. So I was making my living as a musician and picking up a few extra bucks, hosting trivia, when I was kind of cobbling together a living. And then Charles Burcell was doing these independent podcasts. So I had this life going pretty nicely. And that's when I came over to River West.
So what year did you start doing podcasts?
5-6 years ago.
Oh, okay. And then
like
you
that.
got on River West Radio
pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
It's funny because you can hear the log Monday through Friday at 8:30 a.m., 1 p.m., 9 p.m. and charlesburcell.com. But it was what ends up happening with some of the producers, they go, wait, how come he gets to do a show 5 days a week? And now what I get to do is, here, let me play this episode of Drive Time from River West where we hear this whole story. Because to be prolific is, I guess, not that hard. To be prolific and make shows that are interesting is extremely difficult. It seems like... Actually, how difficult is it to do Charles Purcell 5 days a week?
It's not so much anymore. I enjoy it. It does take a lot of time. I should say quickly, when COVID hit, that's when I went to the Daily Show. It's like I almost did it as a favor. You and I had this conversation on the phone, and we're thinking, we don't know what the future holds. Are we going to have a station?
Right. This pandemic, is it going to kill off?
Our producer's going to be able to. So I said, okay, well, as a favor, I can at least give you content. I can give you something new every day. I'll be happy to do that. And so that's how the Daily Show started.
The Daily Log show.
Yeah. And that's why Charles Purcell Presents kind of fell away because of all the time-consuming theater, radio theater stuff. So now this is just kind of coming back around. I'm going to do the Log only 3 days a week, run a repeat on Thursday, and then...
You should not say repeat. You should say an evergreen.
An evergreen.
Because
an encore presentation.
Because that's the other thing is you put all this work into doing the Log, and it's about something in particular, and then if and then that show becomes completely out of date.
Right.
22 hours later.
I make it a point to do one evergreen per week.
Yeah, and that's a really good plan because it's a shame to have everything be stuck in a time where, like, the only time you'll be able to play those shows again is 20 years from now.
Yeah, although that can be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Dick Cavett.
Right.
And these shows are 30, 40, 50 years old, and they're fascinating.
Yeah, a certain amount of time has to pass so you're no longer confused.
Yeah, I'm going to be famous 40 years from now. Listen to the way he talked about COVID.
What?
Fascinating.
Co-video? I'm not into that. All right. Well, thank you again for, it's funny because you say making product, right? And it just seems like it's, I don't know, cupcakes. And it's much more complicated than following a recipe or a formula to pay attention to what's going on in the world, process it, and then say words that help clarify what's going on, express your views on it, and promote the idea of having interest in things that are complicated.
Well, at the risk of sounding pretentious, I do consider myself an artist. I'm a spoken word artist, and I'm also a sound sculpture radio artist. And I get up every day thinking, today I'm going to do art. Yeah,
and it's nice, too, because you have an enviable life to many people listening.
Well, I retired.
He played music for money.
Yeah.
And did art.
Yeah, and before that,
hobby.
I did professional theater, which we never really talked about, and I did radio. So I've been very lucky.
Right on. Well, thanks again, Charles Purcell, a.k.a. Peter Donalds. Again, I'm going to say it is The Log, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m., 1 p.m., and 9 p.m. and charlespurcell.com. And then I guess you'll go on, if you're an iTunes person, you can
it's all there under Charles Purcell Presents, which is going to now debut on Fridays.
Right on. All right. Well, thanks for coming in and talking about that. This is Drive Time from River West.
So there it is. Thanks to Martin Hallinger and River West Radio. And you and I will be together again tomorrow for Charles Purcell Presents, and then on Monday for the Season 4 premiere of The Log. There it is. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.